I'm Linda Neighbor. I am a medical reimbursement and coding major here at Bryant and Stratton College. And this is the portfolio project reflection for Research and Writing 2. The proposal project that I had to do for the Research and Writing 2 class enabled me to do research on telecommuting in a global market and how it affects the medical reimbursement and coding field. I learned that telecommuting is growing in the healthcare industry. I also learned that some medical offices are using offshore coders. To remain competitive in the field, it's imperative for billing and coding specialists to keep their credentials current so that they don't have their jobs outsourced to other countries. If I had to do the project over again, I would start the research and writing for my project a lot sooner than I did. The more I put it off, the harder it became. I'll admit that a lot of the reasons for my procrastination was due to fatigue and family responsibilities. Sometimes all I wanted to do after a long day of work was plop down in my favorite chair in front of the TV and zone out, or just to get really involved in a good book. And however, I had to soldier on, but I realized that taking small bites at a time would have been better for my sanity in the long run. I think my family's sanity would have been helped with that too. My proposal project met the course outcomes because I learned how to integrate research through the Bryant and Stratton Online Library with concise writing presented with a healthcare audience in mind. The course and the project helped me to think more globally in general. In my opinion, the project was a culmination of the professional writing skills that I learned in the Research and Writing 2 class. The project met the institutional outcomes because I had to consider my audience at all times. I learned much from my fellow classmates as they peer-reviewed my rough draft. They gave me things to consider that I never had before, such as the tone of my project and how it came across to others. I sharpened my information literacy skills through the research that I had to do for the project. I learned to keep an open mind while evaluating and analyzing my sources. The dependability workplace capability applies to this class as we had to peer review others' work. The last thing I wanted to do was give an evaluation that wasn't helpful. It was important to read carefully through my fellow classmates' papers and to notice where mistakes were so that I could help them correct their mistakes. It was equally important to tell them when they did something right. My classmates depended on me to give them a fair evaluation, and that's what I tried to do. Also, I was dependable in turning in my assignments on time every week, no matter how hard it was. I complained before about how hard it was to maintain my schoolwork while holding down a full-time job and having a family. However, if I can't be dependable with schooling, how will I be seen as a dependable worker when it is time for me to search for a job in my field after graduation? Dependability is important in every facet of life. As a wife and a mother, that's something of which I am very aware. The other workplace capability that applies to this class is tolerance. One of the main things we discussed was cultural diversity. In that discussion, I realized that I already experienced this at work because I encounter people from different cultures every day. I work in a grocery store deli. Sometimes my customers speak a foreign language with very little command of English. If it's Spanish or French, I can sort of muddle through a conversation, at least enough to figure out what they want. Yesterday, the Coca-Cola delivery guy greeted me when I went to the back to recycle boxes. I knew he had a foreign accent, but I couldn't place where he was from. So I used the Olympics as an opening to ask him which country he was rooting for, hoping he would tell me where he was from that way. And in trying to be polite, he said he was rooting for the United States. I said, oh, it's okay. You don't have to root for us just because you're here in this country. I said, where are you from originally? And he said he was from the Ivory Coast. I said, ah, Côte d'Ivoire. And his eyes lit up when he heard me say his country in French, because he wasn't expecting that. And, you know, it was something that only took a few seconds, but it made a huge difference to him that day. So, I think that in general, we are all human beings who just want to be heard and respected for who we are. We don't always have to agree with one another to be respectful, but we should strive to see the positive in people whenever and however we can. And to me, that is the definition of tolerance.